and welcome to Banjo-Kazooie on the Nintendo 64. I am one Welsh sheep yet again, and this game, ladies and gentlemen, this is a fantastic game. This is my absolute favorite game for the Nintendo 64. It's such a classic. It's so much brilliant collecting. The level design is glorious. The soundtrack is phenomenal. And you're playing as this bear named Banjo and his good old friend Kazooie, who's got a bit of a mouth on her. What can we say? And seriously, this game, I've had so many memories of playing through this game and just I'm so happy to get through this LP, you know, folks. I'm so happy to get to this one. I've been holding off this LP for a long while because I wanted to get the right cables and equipment ready just to get to start tackling this one, you know, folks. I want to show off this game in its true glory. And I am playing this on the original Nintendo 64 version as well, folks. I'm not taking on the Xbox Live version, even though that is in HD. And I will actually be showing it off later down the line in this LP. I'm doing this on the original system because, well, mainly because I prefer the controller. The controller suits this game perfectly because, well, obviously the game's built for that controller, you know. But anyway, this here is our main villain of the game, Gruntilda, one of my favourite video game villains of all time. She speaks in rhyme constantly, and the plot of this game is pretty similar to Snow White, actually. I think the film is. I get confused with the Disney movies. They're all sort of mixed together in my head. But it's pretty much similar to one of the Disney movies where, oh no, this one girl's better than me. I can't have this. I need to be the best looking person out there. Which, sorry to say, love, I think you'll have a bit of a hard time even without Tootie in the competition, because you look just like Witch Hazel, for Christ's sake. I mean, how many people out there would turn around and say, Witch Hazel, stereotypical witch, I can dig it. But I digress. Although one thing I really have to stress about this game, and I'm going to say this right now, is the soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtrack of this game is developed by Grant Kirkhope. I can't say his name properly. Grant Kirkhope. Grant Kirkhope. Say that 10 times fast, Jesus. But anyway, he developed the soundtrack of this game, and it's one of the most memorable game soundtracks I've ever heard. You know, folks, he did a fantastic job, and he's been a pretty big deal in the gaming industry in terms of music ever since this game first came out. You know, and honestly, this type of game has really defined Rareware throughout the years. Even though Rareware have stopped doing these sort of games, Banjo was clearly... I think Banjo, apart from Donkey Kong Country, obviously, is their biggest... the biggest thing they've ever worked on, you know, and I think it's the biggest intellectual property that they still own to date. Which is saddening, because they never really make use of the Banjo IP anymore. It's quite shameful. Anyway, this year is Tootie. She's basically Banjo's little sister, and the entire quest is gonna basically revolve around us trying to rescue her from that giant castle you saw off in the distance there. So yeah, there's that. Well, one thing I have to say about the dialogue in this game, the dialogue is hilarious. Like, for example, the line coming up by here, it's just genius, you know? That's hilarious. You need bugger underwear. That's just... The dialogue in this game is amazing. There's so many jokes, there's so much, like, word plays going on. And it's just so much character to, well, each of the characters, you know? They got their own very unique personalities, and I don't know, I love it, you know? It's so good, so well done. And if you look in the background there, you can actually see a picture of Banjo in a level that was actually not in this game. It's originally meant to be Fungus Forest, or Fungi Forest, which is a level that didn't make it to the final release of this game, sadly, but in this LP channel, we'll be seeing it eventually anyway, because it's going to be in a later on game, a game later down the line. But now we're getting into the main gameplay itself. So to start things off, just walk on outside of Banjo's house and walk up to this molehill, and Bottles will basically give us he'll give us the too long didn't read version of what just happened. Basically, Tootie, our sister, has been kidnapped, so we need to do some training, get all buffed up and prepared to move on in this fantastic collectathon adventure. And one thing I have to say about this type of game, this is a collectathon platform, you know, folks. This is a game heavily based around exploring. It's heavily based around finding collectibles and whatnot in the environment and earning new moves so you can progress through the game. And this is actually my favorite style of platformer out there. You know, collectathon 3D platforms are my personal favorite platform games. I mean, my favorite games of all time still like Sonic 2 and whatnot, and that's still traditional point A to point B games, but this is my favorite style of game. You know, I always can go back to these type of games and just relax and enjoy, you know. But to start things off, that was a honeycomb piece we just picked up, and to explain the moves, to do a high jump you need to press down the Z button and also press the A button and you'll do a large leap into the air. Press the A button on its own, you'll do a normal jump. If you press the A button once while you're in the air, you'll do a short little hover move using Kazooie. If you press the B button while you're in the air, you'll do an air sort of pecking motion, which is like, it's basically going to be, if you play like I do, it's going to be a go-to attack of the game. Pressing B on the ground will either do a standard like roll if you're moving, or you'll do some sort of really useless swipe attack if you stand still. So there's that. If you press the Z button on its own, you'll crouch, and if you climb up trees, you can, well, not if you can climb up trees just by jumping into them and just moving the analog stick up, you know, folks. And seriously, this is a revolutionary game, and I have to make one thing I have to confess right now is the main villain in this game, Grunty. I'm kind of ashamed to admit this, but it's gonna be fun. I used to be scared of her when I was younger. And I don't even know why either, because she's like a really comical, she's an over-the-top, entertaining villain. I don't understand why I used to find her scary. I think it was just the fact she was a witch or something like that. She used to freak me out, you know? But anyway, what I did to those boulders there is I pushed down the Z button and the B button, you do the sort of charge attack, and breaking all those boulders will give us a honeycomb piece. And for the most part, whenever you first collect a collectible in this game, when you don't even need the tutorials on for it. The collectible will tell you what exactly it does. For example, we picked up an extra life on top of Banjo's house earlier, and he just said, "I'm an extra life. You can collect me to get more chances." And you know, it's all well and good. But throughout all of this first world, which is Spiral Mountain, we can actually collect all these honeycomb pieces, and collecting all of them in the area will give us an extra bit of health. Now, from this point onwards, every world's going to have 2 honeycomb pieces in each one. And they're a pretty major MacGuffin in this game, but they are pretty optional. Now, one thing that a lot of people sort of hate about these type of games is the collecting can be a bit too much for them, you know? But I personally feel that Banjo-Kazooie has the perfect build-up for this type of game, this game genre, for example, because in games later down the line are Rareware made, like Donkey Kong 64, there's so many collectibles in that game, it puts people off, and it puts me off from playing this sometimes, because I think there's something ridiculous like 3,500 things in the entire game to pick up, and it's a bit of a nightmare, you know, folks. But yeah, this game is like the perfect blend of platforming, collecting, and just overall pacing, you know, I love it, it's so good. But of course, this machine by here, this contraption is mainly what's going to turn good old Gruntilda young and make 2D to be a bit of a fat hag like the witch who's currently trying to do her dastardly deeds, you know? It's all good, it's all good, he lied. But one thing I always find weird is, even though they activate the machine now, we have until the end of the game to stop them. Because I don't know, maybe the machine malfunctions. They never really touch upon it. It doesn't really matter in the long scheme of things. It's just a reason to keep things tense and going. But there we go. Anyway, now welcome to Grunty's castle. This here is the main fortress, in which case we're going to be traversing through, and we're going to pick up the main collectible of this game. These are Jiggies. In every world there are 10 of these that you need to pick up, and these are basically what opens up new levels, new areas later down the line, in which case we need to jump into the... Basically we need to go into new worlds and these open them up, you know, these are the main MacGuffin, these are the power stars of the game, if you will. These are the... Actually, yeah, the power star, let's just go with that. And whenever you get enough of them, you go to these specific areas. And these specific areas are, well, the jigsaw pieces. You push the A button when you're on these jigsaw pieces, and you can fill in the slots with the jiggies that you've picked up to date. And essentially, just put the jiggy in the place by here, and we have entered the first world of the game, Mumbo's Mountain. But yeah, folks, this is going to be a pretty big one, you know, we're in this for the long haul. It's going to be 15 parts of pure madness. So, thank you all for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't be sheepish, and I'll catch you next time when we take on the first proper world of the game. Bye!